Russia has launched a missile at one of the 4 areas annexed.
A Ukrainian official says at least 25 civilians were killed and dozens more were injured on the strike, on a humanitarian convoy in Zaporizhzhia. Russia made this attack just hours before Russian President Vladimir Putin held a national address declaring 4 occupied regions of Ukraine are now part of Russia. The Kremlin claims people in these areas largely voted to join Russia earlier this week in referendums that were dismissed by the United States and other Western allies as a sham. CBS News foreign correspondent Holly Williams is following the story for us from London. So, Holly, what did Vladimir Putin say in today's address?
Right, so to break it down for you, he said that 4 occupied regions in Ukraine, that is Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson and Zaporizhzhia, they're all in the south or the east of the country, are now, according to Vladimir Putin, part of Russia. That is, Russia has annexed them. And Putin said that people there will become Russian citizens, quote, forever. He claimed that that was the will of millions of people. And he justified this move by talking about Russian history, including centuries of imperial history and Russian fighting during the 2 world wars. Now, as we know, Russia invaded Ukraine again in February, seizing swaths of territory. And in that territory, it recently held so-called referendums that nobody seriously viewed as free or fair. So now Putin is saying that the territory that Russia seized in Ukraine illegally actually belongs to Russia. He also directed yet another tirade against the West, referring to the West as a, quote, parasite, as neo-colonialist, and he claimed that the West is trying to harm, enslave and impoverish Russians. And then he compared the kind of hopelessness in Russia of the 1990s after the collapse of the USSR with what he says is the stronger Russia of today. And in fact, there was a sort of strong triumphalist tone throughout the whole performance. So in short, we heard today what we expected to hear from Vladimir Putin, which was that he was going to say that Russia had annexed these 4 regions, and in the kind of extreme language that's become typical of Vladimir Putin in recent times.
So what do observers think, particularly now after hearing from Vladimir Putin, this says about his strategic shift? I know that many people have said, well, you know, this is all about him sort of carving out what he's going to call Russia. And if Ukraine attacks, he's going to say you attacked Russia. And I should say that this convoy that was attacked today, Russia is blaming Ukraine for the attack. So is it that, or is it, you know, maybe he's going to call this a win? Maybe he's going to carve out a portion of Ukraine and say, yes, they say we're losing in some areas, but actually we've won.
So look, on the one hand, this is kind of straight out of the Russian playbook. You know, Russia invaded Ukraine again. It held a so-called referendum, and now it has illegally annexed 4 regions of Ukraine. Those are kind of classic Russian tactics. Think back to 2014 when Russia illegally annexed Crimea in southern Ukraine. But within the context of this war, it's perhaps an indication of how frustrated Vladimir Putin is militarily. I mean, his forces are being stymied, they're being stalled, they're being defeated by the Ukrainians. They've suffered this whole series of sort of embarrassing military failures as Western arms have poured into Ukraine. And so perhaps now, in his frustration, Vladimir Putin is turning to a political weapon instead of a sort of a weapon on the battlefield to try and get what he wants. And that's very concerning because Russia claims that these regions are now part of its territory, are now part of Russia. And at the same time, the Russian government has more than once recently threatened that it could use nuclear weapons.
Right. So, Holly, on that point, in addition to this deadly attack that we saw in southern Ukraine, I mean, our audience should understand what this annexation is and why Vladimir Putin decided to do it, right? Because the notion is that by claiming that these are parts of Russia, he can then say when his troops are fighting Ukrainian troops that he's protecting the motherland. And if he's protecting the motherland, that means every weapon is at his disposal to use, including these nuclear weapons. So the West should not take those threats. I mean, these are real serious threats, and I can't imagine that he would bluff over something like this.
I don't think anyone in the West is taking those threats lightly. I mean, it's a threat of nuclear war, right? But as to whether Vladimir Putin is bluffing once again, I mean, throughout this whole conflict, I've said it over and over again, so much is unclear because we don't know what is going on actually inside Vladimir Putin's head.
Great point,
Yes.
Holly. Thank you very much.